I'm amazed. How amazing is the Search Church? This place is sick. I mean, geez, you guys, you're so spoiled. Way to go. This is incredible. I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm going to talk about how SEO is dead, and we all know that, but I want to talk about that, and how you have no time and you have no resources, and that's sort of what big site SEO is all about. When I talked to Will about this, he said, hey man, one thing that I did is I talked about how no one has any time, so let's just assume no one has any time, but they all want to get stuff done. So what are the things that people can do that don't require, anybody else? What's the stuff that you can do that is sort of independent of everybody else's interests? And it's really hard actually to come up with stuff that doesn't require other stakeholders and business interests and all that, because enterprise SEO, big site SEO is all about complexity and spanning departments and all that stuff. But I did my best. Well, let's start with SEO is dead. And this was supposed to be black on white, but I did it on a Mac, and now it's on a PC, and so it's white on black, or vice versa. SEO is dead, you guys. It's dead. Here's why. Look at all these paid search listings. So this is in the B2B space, cloud storage. It's just there's 10 or 11 paid search listings. There's a couple or 2.5 organic listings. And that's just a typical old traditional SERP. New SERPs like the travel carousel for hotel in Philly. That's insane. There are no organic listings there. Actually, there is a little one there. TripAdvisor is sort of on the fold. What are you supposed to do about that? Then there's this. If you're in e-com, you know all about product listing ads. PLAs are crazy. They are crazy how much click share they get. And now for Google, for our clients, and this is pretty representative of the entire ecosystem, 35% of all the clicks that happen in paid search and non-brand paid search is what we all care about. 35% are PLAs. PLAs drive mad click-throughs. Crazy, right? What are you going to do about that in SEO? Nothing. And then there's stuff like that. And, for brand searches, you've got the knowledge graph stuff showing up. You've got the map and local listings showing up. You've got site links in the paid ad. More craziness. SEO getting squeezed out. Then Hummingbird comes along. Google is setting up all these deals. They've got this whole team at Google that's working on business deals with NFL and MLB and weather and all these other business interests to just give direct information, knowledge graph type information right there in the SERP. You've got knowledge graph on the right-hand side there. SEO is so dead. You've got hero ads like this. You guys see these? Hero ads and organic coming up. So for Virgin, they're testing this giant, banner image thing, and they're putting that up. So what are we going to do? SEO is for sure totally super duper dead. But wait a second, there's a glimmer of hope. Because if we look at data, now this is ComScore data, so take it with a grain of salt. I love ComScore, but this is a sort of traditional SERP. And what's interesting is it harkens back to the days, 2 years ago when we always said, 80% of the clicks on any given SERP happen in the organic results, right? Well, they kind of do. I mean, close to that. 70% in this SERP happen in organic, 30% in paid. Let's go back to some of these now and think about it. So SEO is dead. These new hero brand ads that they're putting out, yeah, that's crazy, but that's all organic results so far. So yeah, Google could monetize those, but that's SEO. Okay, good. What about this one? Well, we've been talking about knowledge graph now for a year at least, right? That right-hand side, that result there is off of Wikipedia. If only there was a way that you could edit a Wikipedia entry. So you kind of can control that to some extent, so that's good. They're scraping it. They're using data from the open source of Wikipedia. Here we are with this result for a brand, Urban Outfitters, and luckily that knowledge graph result is off the rel publisher link that's hooked up between their G+ page and their brand page. So they're controlling that to some extent too. They're controlling that messaging on there. That's good. PLAs, there's not a whole ton that we can do there, but what's interesting about it is that PLAs are feed-driven, so Google's taking feed information and populating those. And guess who's taking feed data and putting it into organic search results? Bing. Bing is freaking crazy, you guys. They're taking feed data and they're creating rich captions and they're populating organic results with feed data. So congratulations to SEOs, you now own feeds for Bing. That just shows where things are going and how they're all merging and the innovation that's happening. What about this travel carousel? Not much you can do there, right? Well, actually, if you research this and investigate what it takes to show up there, it comes down to like old school, traditional local SEO. Getting all the local stuff dialed, focusing on reviews, quality of reviews, amount of reviews, consistency of syndication across sites. All of that is controlled in that way by Google, but you can influence it as sort of a second order effect by just doing good local SEO. And then, of course, this very atypical now, traditional SERP showing up. Well, the crazy thing is just this. The click distribution for this SERP is biased towards organic. It's going to change. But, when Google does stuff like this, what are they trying to do? They're trying to monetize. They're trying to gain click share on the paid side in however way they can. But organic is still their bread and butter. So SEO is definitely not dead. I think about this guy, Peter Drucker, and you can't see that, but he said basically business is two things, marketing and innovation. That's what business is. It comes down to those two things, marketing and innovation. So we can never go back to 1998 when this was Google, right? Now SEO is this. We've got this outcome at the center, which is the business goal that companies are trying to focus on. And all around that are content assets and things that they have that are valuable. And then you've got paid, and you've got search, and you've got social. You've got display ads and comparison shopping, PLAs, paid search, SEO, technical, on-page, links, social, community management, social ads. SEO is kind of all of those things in a way. It's becoming so much more than just keywords on a page. It is so much more than that. All right, SEO will always change. So SEO is not dead, but it will always change. And isn't that awesome? And isn't that kind of why we're all in SEO? Because it takes incredible creativity. It takes the willingness to change and adapt with the times. That's why I like SEO. I don't know about you. All right, so now a quick shift of gears. I'm going to talk about stuff that you guys can do by yourselves without having to rely on anyone else. Kind of. Because like I said, this is really hard to come up with these. But let's go through this. So first of all, the place to start is that you guys, like enterprise sites, you guys that are running those, or maybe you're a consultant, or maybe you work at an agency and you have clients that are enterprise clients, you guys already know what needs to be done. You probably have a list of priorities this long that you're always adding to and that you're reprioritizing and reshuffling. You guys know what needs to be done. And in a blue sky world, you could do all that stuff, right? But you have no time because you come into work and you have these freaking fire drills dropped on your desk, and you have new priorities set by other people and other business units. And you have stuff that you want to do that you have ideas for and strategies even roadmapped for that get tossed out or thrown down or chipped away at to where they're a figment of what they were. You have no resources. Who has a dedicated SEO resource in IT or development? Raise your hand. Dedicated SEO resources. If you do, count yourself lucky. I didn't see a single hand go up. That's sad, right? But it's also representative of the fact that SEO is not its own little siloed thing anymore. SEO is sort of this like layer across an organization. You have no resources of your own. You have to work your resources into everything else. The other problem is that SEO is still, the knowledge is just not that widespread. So you're still sort of, companies see the SEO people in a few different ways. One way is you got like the whirligig hat on and you're going to talk about page rank and technical site accessibility and access, blah, 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 rel canonical, blah, right? No one wants to hear that. Or it's, oh God, SEO is so annoying. They always want to get these keywords on the page and they talk about links and don't even tell them about what we're doing because it's just going to get annoying. Like we'll just roll it out and it'll launch and we won't worry about SEO till later. They'll try to put their patches in and they'll get shut down. Sadly, it's kind of the way it is, right? The other thing is that the leadership team, the C-levels, the executives, they want quick fixes and silver bullets. They say, okay, let's turn on that SEO. Let's get the dial turned up to 11. Let's get some SEO in there. We're going to pay for it. We're going to get it, and we're going to be good, right? And at the end of it, I want to see how that SEO, made us money and just worked for us because I'm hoping we can just turn that dial back down to 4 in Q2, but I want to ramp it up to 7 in Q4, and we got to hold, I want to be able to just flick those switches and work those dials. It does not work that way. There are no silver bullets. If anybody has a silver bullet in SEO, just let me know. Link from the home page, link to your most important pages, right? The other thing that is our reality is that what you don't ship don't count. It don't count unless it ships. Execution is everything. All the ideas in the world they amount to kind of like that much, right? They're nothing. They're great ideas, but they're just, all they are is ideas. When you execute, that's when you get outcomes. And that's when you can take things to your leadership and say, look what I did. So let's talk about some stuff that you can do. And the first thing is, what I like to talk about is projecting the opportunities, putting together projections that you can take to the C-level folks, and you can say, hey guys, we really need to focus on this, and we need budget for this, and here's why, because here's the upside that we could achieve. So let me talk about this. This is kind of hard to put into words and a lot easier to write, so I'm going to do my best. First of all, I like to think about, and my company, our team, thinks about SEO by category, not by keyword, right? So different topics, different categories, and then in those categories are a bunch of queries. Some are more important than others in terms of search volume, et cetera, et cetera. For this, and this is one of the few times when I actually condone looking at keyword rankings, looking super granular, looking at specific queries, and even scraping Google, which is crazy, but I do. So we're going to talk about it. So first thing you do is you take an important topic. Take one category. Just focus on one category. Pull out of that 10, 20, or maybe 50 keywords that are the head terms in that category. So they're the most important queries in that topic, right? And what those usually are is those represent the topic as a whole. So a keyword like whiskey is representative of an entire universe of long tail, right? So look at those head terms. And you're in the enterprise because you actually can compete for head terms like that. Okay? So put those all together, fire up Google Ad Planner, or Keyword Planner, I mean. Fire that up, pull search volume for it. Is it going to be perfect monthly search volume? No, it's probably not going to be perfect monthly search volume. Is it going to be good enough? Yes. It's directional. Put that together, take your 25 or 50 at most keywords, run search volume for them, and then run your site against a small set of competitors for share of voice. And when you're doing this, you're only looking for this. Is the site visible on the first page of results for the keyword or not? That's all. It doesn't matter what position, just visible or not. Are they on the first page? Count them if they are. Okay? And then look at the share of voice. See how they stack up. Look who's winning, who's kicking your ass. Right? Chow here is getting their ass handed to them. We know that. For these high priority terms that are representative of an entire topic, right? Chow is getting hurt here, so we know there's opportunity. Next, do this. For keywords that you're not present for, rank those. Rank your site against a competitive site. What's that opportunity look like? Then take the monthly share of search volume for those high priority keywords. Still pulling it from Google Keyword Planner, put that in, and all you're looking at here is for terms that your site is visible for in organic search, what's the monthly search volume? Does that mean that's traffic that you can get? No, not necessarily. It's just showing the opportunity as a whole. Paid search, organic search, everything from Google, right? Totally directional. Executives love this, which is crazy because, we're all sitting here as SEOs kind of moving on to this next level. Right? We're at like the A level of SEO, and sadly, C levels are sort of like cavemen or cavewomen. Like in my experience, they really, really care about keyword rankings. They care about all this kind of search volume stuff. So if you can dumb it down for them in this way, even if it's not incredibly granular, it's actually very, very effective. Then create like a donut graph or a pie graph or something like that, and take the total volume of those high priority keywords, and then show the volume that you are visible for in organic on the first page of results, and show that little slice. And then bring that into them and say, hey, okay, check it out. We're getting our ass handed to us by drinks.com. Then you have to take some hunches, okay? You have to take some hunches. You have to look at some data, but get an idea for the click distribution between organic and paid in general across that keyword set. Is it 60%? Is it 50% going to organic? Whatever. Come up with a hunch. You can use ComScore data, or you can use CTR data. So this is GWT. Anybody can pull this off of GWT. This is using Blueprint, which is our tool, but you can pull this off of Google Webmaster Tools, and you can get CTR by position. So you can get pretty granular to say, hey, if I'm at position 8, I should expect a 7% CTR. This is data that Google is giving me here. And then take that and create an incremental traffic opportunity. Run that against your organic conversion percentage, and then that outputs your leads, your sales, your revenue, whatever. Take that to the C level and build a presentation super simple like that. You'll get budget. All right, now I'm going to run through lots of tips that you can do yourself. Number one, GWT. This is so easy. It's just dumb, and I'm sure you guys are doing this. Pull the GWT top pages report, export that. Do this once a month or so. You can do it every couple of weeks. When you export it, it gives you this. Google's not very friendly. They give you relative URLs. So you have to run it through BBEdit or TextMate or something like that to put in the fully qualified domain name. Run that through Screaming Frog. Look for response codes, 301s, 302s, 404s, 500s. Your most important pages that Google is reporting, crawl those, see what they're doing. If they're 302ing, if they're 404ing, make a list. Start putting together a list. Don't take them to IT one at a time. Just put together a list, and you know you're going to go to them once you have enough for them to do that you can put in a ticket. That's super easy. You should just be doing that all the time. What about query level data? Who has all their query level data? No one. Not provided sucks. Not provided sucks so bad that I can't even believe it, you guys. Not provided makes me want to scrape Google 24/7. Am I the only one that is so pissed off about not provided? I hate not provided. I really do. It drives me crazy. The good side of not provided is that keywords as a whole are kind of going by the wayside. The bad side is keywords right now, shit, yeah, man, I want query data. It's pretty important. Well, it's going to be 100%. So what are we going to do? All right, there's some internal things we can do. There's some external tools that we can do. So I'm going to run through those one at a time. First of all is the AdWords search query report. Anybody using this? So this is pulling the actual queries that triggered the paid ad. So you've got all that availability of the query data, which is great. You can pull it via API, which is great. The bad side is paid search data does not necessarily equate to organic search data, right? The behavior may be different. They're only clicking on paid search ads. Then again, the same person is using Google, right? There's a person using Google and they're clicking on paid search and they're clicking on organic search. But you can't say that when you have the paid search data that, there you go, you've got your organic data too. You have to be running paid ads, obviously. And then there's this. This is from AdWords themselves. So for the AdWords search query report, you'll only see search terms that were used by people at least 24 hours ago. And, not but, and, or, have either received clicks in the past 30 days or were searched for by a significant number of people. So they have to have been used in the last 24 hours, and they have to have a ton of search volume or have been used in the last 30 days. And if not, any search terms that don't meet those qualifications, they're going to be summed up in other search terms. Oh, God, that sounds so much like not provided. Meh. They're not going to give you all of the data, but they'll give you some data, so it's good, so use it. What about site search data? People come to your site, doesn't matter what source, they get there, they use site search. The good thing is it's keyword data. The bad thing is site search data is not necessarily the same as organic search data. They're already on your site, and your site probably has issues. All sites have issues. And so when they're using site search, they're probably trying to complete a task based on either not being able to find it through your navigation, or your sites may be broken or whatever. Totally different use cases, right? Site search versus organic. But it's data, so you should use it. GWT data, good, that's great. You can get the actual queries. Now you can get impressions, you can get average position, you can get CTR. You can do stuff like this where you can look at Google Analytics and you can look at GWT and you can pivot them together and you can get insight into your buckets of not provided to see where you have visibility and where you don't. That's good. What's not good is you're limited to about 2,000 queries a day. 2,000 queries a day, willy-nilly according to whatever Google wants to give you. There is a trick to expand that I'll talk about. The queries are bucketed and rounded. Clicks equal to 1 or below, or actually it's equal to 3 or below don't count. And the data is sanitized. So they kind of pull out any personalization stuff or whatever they choose to, and they don't tell us what that is. There's a new paid and organic AdWords report that is cool. So again, if you're running paid search, you've got query data, you've got paid search stuff versus organic stuff. You've got impressions and average position and CTR all together. And that's pretty powerful. The bad thing is it's not available in the API yet, at least not officially, but I've heard from people that are pulling it from the API. Anybody pulling this data from the API right now? You've also obviously got to be running paid search. It's a lot like the search query report, the data that we're seeing in there, but it's another source for it, so we're going to use it. Bing is still giving us data, right? Bing and Yahoo, which is great. We get the raw, unfiltered data from them for now, until they decide to take it away. But Bing, who is still a relatively small segment, it's 20% of total organic traffic for our clients. This is the way their share looks. And sadly, over the last 4 or 5 quarters, Yahoo's slowly declined in share, and Bing has slowly risen in share, and Google's just stayed constantly rising. So Bing is taking away share from Yahoo, not Google, in this. But still, 20% in aggregate being in Yahoo is something, right? So definitely use that. All right, what about some external sources? This is where I think that these tools are going to become ever more valuable. You've got competitive insight tools like SEMrush, search metrics, et cetera. You've got SEO analytics like BrightEdge. You've got panel data like ComScore, Alexa, Quantcast, et cetera. Be using all of these, everything and anything that you can. And the interesting thing about not provided is that scrape data actually becomes more valuable now, not less, which is completely antithetical to what Google's trying to do with their terms of service and shutting down AdWords API access for companies if they're scraping them, Raven Tools and many others. But at the same time, holding that data sort of hostage is opening up the opportunity just to scrape and get the data. What can we get when we scrape? We can get query data, ranking position, competitive insight, right? Ecosystem insight. We can see the way that the organic results change based on what Google does with the results, rolling out new products and stuff. Why does Google hate scraping, and why do they leverage the API to close companies off from scraping? Well, because you get all that data, and that data is theirs, and they know it's gold, and they want you to pay for it. It also hammers their servers and creates a ton of noise internally in their analytics, which is a big problem. But the bigger thing is business interest in this. All right. Verify more folders in GWT. Anybody doing this? So you've got the 2,000 query limit in GWT, right, per day, but you can verify as many folders as you want as separate sites. So you need a folder structure like drink/whiskey, something like that, or a subdomain. And once you verify it, it becomes its own independent site with its own data, 2,000 queries a day. You could do that 100 times for now until they stop that. And then set up a script. Google provides one to pull that data weekly or monthly. That's a workaround. Do it until they close it off, because they will. Analyze log files. So one of the things you can do is you can say, hey, IT, give me a month's worth of log files. That's all. Just give me the log files. And they'll say, OK, well, they're pretty massive. What do you really want in there? Say, OK, well, here's what I want. I want a timestamp, the URL requested, the user agent, and you can limit it to Googlebot and BingBot, and the response code. That's all I want. So do a quick grep for me. Send it to me. And then once you have that, you can find out all kinds of great stuff. Like in the first example, you can look at situations where maybe there's soft 404s happening, where Google's crawling pages that are returning a 200. They're actually error pages. Duplicate home pages with like the ASPX default sort of bug, a bug that's a feature. URLs that are getting crawled that shouldn't and getting indexed that shouldn't with tracking parameters. You can find all kinds of stuff in here, and you can add it to a roadmap and add it to to-dos to give to IT as a ticket. So look for these kinds of things. Which URLs have the most requests? It should line up with URL and account. And when you see things like 300 in the count, that's a lot of requests for a URL, and that's an issue. 3 to 5 is normal. Look for duplicate URLs. Look for language selector issues. Those are common. 404s that are soft 200, 404s, 200s, and parameters. It's really easy to spot stuff and really powerful. And then you can say, OK, I'm going to put together some tickets. But in the meantime, I'm going to go into Google and Bing parameter handling tools, and I'm just going to set up some rules, because I know I don't want Google to crawl the UTM stuff or the session IDs, et cetera, et cetera. But just make sure that you use this holistically with an overall strategy, because duplicate content and crawling stuff can be. This is just one angle on it, and you want to use things like robots text and rel canonical and even link level no follow. Meta no index, all kinds of stuff. So make sure that you use this as part of the grand scheme, not just by itself thinking that's all you need to do. A couple reading sources here for you that outline which tool to use for which job. And I'll share this deck. I think we're going to share these decks, right? Yeah, cool. So don't worry about writing them down. You will have these. Here's some log file tools. Ian Lurie has one. I have one. Sawmill and Splunk are both great tools too. All right, set up SEO lunches. everybody talks, when you talk about SEO enterprise stuff, everybody talks about advocacy, right, and bridging across departments and everything. Well, it's actually true, and it's actually really, really important and powerful. The best in-house SEOs that I've known are almost like politicians. They're the guys and girls that are super magnanimous, right, and they're very outgoing, and they know how to just go in and build bridges with people. So monthly kind of brown bag lunches can be really great to figure out what's going on in other departments, what projects are rolling out, to help people understand, even on they may not have in their job description, they may not have an SEO element, but if they're in PR or if they're in merchandising or if they're in social or development, they have SEO on their job description. They just don't know it. Did you know posters? So a lot of times in companies, big enterprises, they'll have these did you knows from dev and from IT, and it just says, hey, did you know, HR does this, or did you know a benefit like this? Set up SEO did you knows. Did you know when you permanently move a URL, you should 301 it? Did you know that SEO is over here in this building and we have beer? Come see us. Beer is always good. Did you know we have beer? You can come drink beer. Create a ruthless roadmap. This is more about planning, right? This is stuff you can do now that doesn't require anyone, but it's going to require someone. But just be absolutely ruthless and figure out what are the top 3 technical SEO things that must be accomplished next year. What are the top 3 content things that must be accomplished, et cetera, et cetera. Put those down on paper, back it up with data, and build some business rationale around that, and then push for and set up a meeting at the year's end to review progress, to look at your top priorities and say, here's what I have as my top priorities for next year. Let's set up some owners and or some timelines, and let's check in Q1 and Q2 and track this. It puts accountability on your shoulders, but it puts accountability on everyone else's shoulders too. It puts it out on paper, and it sets it and tracks it and creates ownership, and it's really, really important. This is a huge thing to do, but can be really powerful. Take over your Google+. So what we're seeing in a lot of companies is that Google+ is sort of this social network without a country. In some companies, PR owns it or social, and others, maybe it's SEO, or maybe it doesn't really have an owner. It's not a super high priority from the social side, typically, because Facebook and Twitter get all the love. So take it over if you can. Just go renegade and just take it. Because once you have Google+, you've got a content management system, you've got a social networking tool, right? You've got it all right. You've got a PR tool. You might not be able to get away with it, but if you can, get it. And if you can't get it, try to get a seat at the table. With Rel Publisher, with authorship, it's only going to become more important. I stole this idea from Mike King, who uses Quora in a really smart way. Quora is a great site because it's very, very discriminating in the type of content that kind of does well, that gets shared widely. It has to be high quality. It has to be very, very sincere. So a lot of times you'll hear things like, what's it really like to work at Valve Software, right? They have this holacracy, which is this crazy type of business organization hierarchy that is really interesting. And people say, well, what's that really like to work there? And people from Valve will say, oh, well, here's what it's really like. Or they'll say, okay, what are the best whiskey drinks? What are the best whiskey cocktails? And some bartender from New York will be like, famous, and he writes books and say, here are the most popular ones that I've been serving for the last 20 years. So it's a great way to vet content ideas, and you can look here in the lower right-hand corner for different topics that you're interested in, and you can find out what are most popular and which ones are the ones that are being followed the most, and then you can add those as part of a content strategy to your editorial calendar. You can do that with Delicious, you can do that with Reddit, you can do that with lots of different sites. You can do this in other ways too, by stealing content that's worked really well on other sites. So plug them into Open Site Explorer, find out what was shared the most. If you do it for a site like this example, Salesforce, you're going to have to scroll way, 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 way down to find the types of sites that are probably content. In Salesforce case, they use a lot of community content. So they don't create a whole lot of original content, but they use a lot of community stuff, and that does really, really well. Bam! There's an idea. If you're competing with Salesforce, you should probably leverage some knowledge-based stuff and some community stuff. Insight from Twitter. I love follower wonk, and because it's free. There's a level that's free, and it's insanely powerful for kind of competitive intelligence, for social intelligence, for insight. So I can look up Marshall, and I can check him out, and I can see that he's got an amazing amount of followers in India for some reason. I don't know why. India and the UK/Europe. You're huge there, man. I think you should go on a world tour. But I can see what he talks about. He talks about SEO, no surprise there. And these are the topics that he talks about. This is really useful if you're going after different writers from different publications and kind of seeing what they're interested in. And you can break down the activity of his followers. So in Marshall's case, if you're in SEO, his followers are like a who's who of SEO, right? So those 6,000 followers are going to be very representative of the industry. Hey, this is when they tweet the most. That's kind of cool to know. And this is when Marshall tweets the most. It looks like, you know, he kind of gets up in the morning and he starts really hitting his stride right around 2 p.m. And if you want an @reply from Marshall, you should tweet to him for an @reply at 2 p.m. Pacific time, where you'll have like a 60% chance of being @replied. So this works really well for like, you know, sites like Huffington Post, Mashable, publications where you want to get activity, you want to build relationships, not necessarily with their brand Twitter profile, but with writers. Really, really good. All right, finally, this is not a tiny thing that you can do by yourself, but you could put a spec together to build a reverse proxy tool, because if you were able to do this, first of all, I would be amazed and give you a giant hug, because we were only able to do this once. But if you do this, you have maximum control on the SEO side. So basically, a reverse proxy tool sits between, you know, there's different ways that you can do it, but it's a way that you can control the site without actually making changes to the permanent site. And you can use this for things like changing URLs, on-page elements, metadata, content, et cetera, et cetera. A very large, well-known e-commerce site built one of these, and it's been infinitely valuable for them. It's infinitely valuable for the SEO side, what we've been able to accomplish, but also from the development side, because we don't need to put in tickets for things like, you know, putting a header tag, putting new content on a page, or, you know, adding a no index tag. You know, that stuff that just doesn't get on the priority list. So it's an amazingly powerful thing. It's a very hard thing to do, but if you did it, you could pat yourself on the back. All right, just to wrap it up, you guys, SEO touches everything. It really does, which is crazy, right? It lives in marketing and sometimes engineering, but it spans merchandising, UX, content, PR, social, legal, and all of those report up into who? The CEO, right? The CEO. So when you get your CEO thinking about SEO, like this guy, Tony Hsieh, one of the reasons that Zappos I use past tense, did so well at SEO was because Tony was intimately involved in SEO there. When you get the CEO thinking about it and understanding it, it can be very powerful. So get those meetings with him, her, try to get her to understand, you know, why it's important. She probably already does, but if she doesn't, make sure that, you know, you're on the radar. And when you do that, you will be successful. Thank you, Philly.